Good morning. Today is July 25th, 2020, and my name is Teresa. I am John's wife of Lighthouse Window Cleaning, and I came to share a story and also to share my heart. And so we will start without further ado with a song and then a story. So here we go. This is a song I'm just learning, and I'm just learning to play the guitar. You might hear a guitar in the background, but that's not me. It's Michael, Michaela's boyfriend, who's one of our kids, but he's a great guitar player, and I am on my way to being great. And it's a process, and that's what this story is about. So without further ado, let's start with the song. Okay, so please indulge me with this. It'll just be a second, and then I'll tell you a story. So, why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know the wrong way to see. And someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Oh. Thank you for listening to that song, and in that same vein, I would like to share a story which really is about a rainbow connection between all of us and God's love intertwined, and faith, also acceptance and joy of life. So without further ado, I like saying that, without further ado, the story is actually, the story actually involves a puppy, and this one looks sort of like the one that I got for my brother, and I wanted to just give you a visual. This is Boone. Again, this belongs to Michaela. And Jenny's here too. Maybe, Jenny, would you like to be in the video? Come here, Jen. Come on. Jenny, come on. That's Boone's looking at Jenny right now. Anyway, I think I'll put Boone down now. So, it all started about 5 years ago. And one of my brothers, my second brother, Greg, who is and always has been just a picture of just love. He's always been love to me and shown me love through his presence and his love, especially his hugs and all of the fun that we've had together throughout our lives. He definitely embodies the spirit of life, fun, and joy. So about 5 years ago, my brother was in a hard spot. He actually had lost one of his daughters, and he also went through a divorce, and his dog died, and my heart felt very heavy, and I was consumed with what can I do to help my brother. and how can I help him? I felt his deep grief, and so I thought to myself, the best thing to do is to do what I can do and replace something to fill up one of the holes in his heart. So I put my mind to it and I got him a dog. That's why I showed you Boone. His dog was a border collie, and so I set my mind to replacing his border collie, but I was very overly focused and not really thinking clearly. And that might happen. You might be able to relate to that. When I had my mind on something and thought, I'm just going to do this and this is going to fix everything. And so I asked my brother Greg if he wanted a dog, and he said no. And then I talked to my family, my husband and my mom, and I said, I think I'm going to get Greg a dog. And they said, no, don't do that. It's not a good idea. And I couldn't hear them because I just was enlightened and thought a dog is going to fix everything. So I went on this search for border collies, and I found one, and it was the only one available. And so when I got to the house to pick the dog, it was the only dog available, and it smelled like pee. So I thought, this is it. So I brought it home and I gave it a bath, and my mom was slightly upset with me. Maybe more than slightly, I think, and as is what my husband. But I was determined, and I thought this would fix everything. So I got the dog, and we went to my brother's house, and enough about that. He ended up taking the dog and falling in love with the dog, but the dog was had a few nuts loose. It just wasn't a regular dog. Jamie was a regular dog. She was a border collie, and border collies are meant to herd sheep. And so she was born with what one of the trainers called not a third eye, but the eye. And so she had an eye, and she had a job to do. And how she carried that out was she was ready to work and ready to go. But the only unfortunate thing is that Greg did not have sheep. Neither did any of us. So he ended up falling in love with her, and I always questioned why. And I realized that I made a mistake. And because Jamie was here with Greg, and she was really meant to herd sheep, but Greg did fall in love, and they had a good relationship. And there are so many jokes and stories that I could tell, and that might be for another time. But what I wanted to say is that, and how this relates to the story of our rainbow connection and God's love, is that my brother ended up having a heart attack a few years ago, and then recently this January he had another heart attack and he passed away. And I know he is still with me, and I feel his spirit, and I felt his spirit today, just through remembering and feeling his hugs and his fun spirit that is alive within me. And I also know that we're all connected in the past, present, and future, and that's the way of God's love. And I want to further exemplify that by telling you what happened to Jamie. And You'll see some pictures throughout this video because I'm going to put them on there. And you'll also see pictures, and you might have already seen them, of Greg. But John and I ended up inheriting Jamie. And so she came to live with us. We already have a dog, Jenny, who is friends with Jamie. So that part was fine. But there were a few things that made it difficult, the same things that made it difficult for Greg to have Jamie, that she needed a job and wanted a job. And so we had her here and we accepted having her here, but we also were trying to rehome her and find a new place for her. We reached out to a border collie rescue. I'm sorry, there's a train going by and we have to be quiet. So we tried to rehome Jamie and we reached out to a rescue for border collies, and we brought her there a week before Greg's funeral, and the first few days went well. And by the fourth day, the rescue place person said, please come and get this dog. She has a few screws loose. So the day before the funeral, we went and picked up Jamie, and we decided that we would just keep her and try to stimulate her so that she would be able to do her job and live with us. And we signed up for some agility courses, and we met with our trainer who trained Jenny, our golden retriever, and she was going to keep her for a week. And so we came to a place of acceptance and trust that we were in the Lord's hands. We always are. We're always in God's hands, and God's love is always here for us in each moment, and we embrace that. And then one day, my husband John of Lighthouse Window Cleaning, who usually takes the dogs for walks, took Jamie and Jenny for a walk along the ridge behind us, and was just at a place of resignation and acceptance, as I just portrayed. And on that walk, he went through some private property. I wouldn't have done that, and he has been asked to leave before, but it was one of the places that we walk, and sometimes we aren't asked to leave. So he went another route, and as he was descending the hill, he told me that he heard some people coming from behind him, and he thought that it was just one of the owners that was going to tell him to leave. So he was prepared for that in his heart, and it ended up not to be that at all. These were two gentlemen from Peru who herd goats, and they came up to John. They didn't speak good English, but there was a border collie on the back of their 4x4. I don't know what it's called, but the 4x4 thing that you rev, and they came up to him and said, would you be willing to give us your dog? How much can we pay you for the dog? Is she available? And John was not expecting that, floored by someone seeking Jamie. And so they talked, and by the end of the conversation, John also called me and asked if it was okay if he gave them Jamie, and I agreed, and John left Jamie and her leash with the goat herders from Peru. And John did make an agreement and left his number that if she doesn't work out, please let us know and we will come and get her. And we did follow up a couple times and got to see Jamie, and she was doing the job that she was meant to do. She was happy, and they were teaching her to herd, and we received a few pictures and also were able to see her in person. But she was taking care of the mothers and babies and protecting them, and it felt not only like an answer to prayer, it was an answer to prayer, it is an answer to prayer, and there was just the joy of knowing that she is doing the job that she was meant to do. And it also was a recognition of God's providence and his care for us, and a knowledge of his angels all around us all the time, as they were the embodiment of angels, of unexpected blessings and gifts that other people give us. So that's the story of Jamie, and that's really the story of all of our lives. As we come to the knowledge of, hey, it's okay, we make mistakes, they don't have to be seen as mistakes. We just live and we learn and grow, and the purpose really of life, as I'm finding in my own journey, is to let life flow through me and not be in control of it, and know that God is in every moment and in everything, and I don't have to worry or stress, because God's presence is all around, as is all of God's angels. So I leave you with that, knowing that in this time of coronavirus and things that are happening that are outside of our control, it's all okay, because we have a loving, sovereign God who sent his only son and gave us life through his death. And so we can rejoice knowing that no matter what happens in our external environment, if we know that God is in our hearts and with us forever, then nothing can ever be wrong. It can always only be right. And the formula is God first, then ourselves, and we follow that by listening to excitement. Amen. Namaste. Have a wonderful life. Goodbye.